Hi there, welcome to this 13th in our series of MCQ based revision quizzes to help AQA A Level Business students get ready for paper 1. We're calling this a paper 1 mock. The aim as always is to try to beat the average score of just under 10 out of 15 in the first sitting of paper 1. We're calling it a paper 1 mock because all 15 questions are drawn from the entire Year 1 and Year 2 AQA specification, a mixture of calculation questions and other questions which hopefully give you a decent mock style test to have a go at. As always, we'll give you the question and the 4 options, pause the video to make your selection, and when you're ready press play and see whether you got the right answer. Keep your own score. Here is question 1. A business experiencing a higher level of capacity utilisation than usual may benefit from it because it what? There are your 4 options, so pause the video, make your first selection. So for this question on capacity utilisation, we're told the business is experiencing a high level of utilisation, a high percentage of output compared with the total potential. The answer is C, because that should enable the business to reduce the average cost of production, to reduce unit costs. High levels of capacity utilisation are associated with lower unit costs, because the fixed costs are spread over the production and therefore low unit costs. So answer C. Okay, question 2. The information below is an extract from a company's annual accounts. Operating profit 10 million, current assets 5 million, non-current liabilities of 6 million and total equity of 40 million. What is the company's return on capital employed ratio? There are the 4 options, so do your calculation, have a go. Return on capital employed, a key ratio, often tested in MCQs, often you may be able to use it in an answer if you're given the data. In this case, the answer is A, 21.74%. Now we've rounded that up to 2 decimal places. Don't forget the formula for return on capital employed is operating profit, we're given that 10 million, divided by capital employed, and capital employed is total equity of 40 million plus non-current liabilities of 6 million. So it's 10 divided by 46 times by 100, 21.74%. Okay, question 3. Options A to D below show 4 different combinations of monetary and fiscal policy. Which combination is most likely to lead to a reduction in sales for a business that sells luxury holidays to customers in the UK? Make your selection from those 4 series of options. Okay, monetary and fiscal policy. Well, the answer is D, increasing interest rates and increasing taxation. The clue we were looking for there in the question was a reduction in sales, lower demand for a business that sells luxury holidays to customers in the UK. Lower demand, well, higher interest rates should lower consumer confidence, consumer spending. You might expect that. Therefore, that would reduce demand for luxury holidays. And also increased taxes, which would also reduce the disposable income of consumers in the UK. So that's the combination that's most likely to lead to a reduction in sales for that kind of business. Answer D. Okay, question 4. A business introduces lean production in order to reduce the average value of inventories held. The likely effect on the financial performance of the business in the short term would be what? There are 4 combinations there of cash flows and inventory turnover, so make your selection. So as always, the clue is in the question. What's happening? The business is introducing lean production. It's going to reduce the average value of inventories held, which means we should expect higher inventory turnover. So it's either going to be answer B or C. And of course, if you can reduce your inventories, it means that you have to spend less cash on inventories. Therefore, you should receive higher cash inflows in the short term as inventories fall. Therefore, the answer is B, a combination of higher cash inflows and as a result of holding lower inventory, higher inventory turnover. Okay, question 5. Which of the following is an internal source of finance? Make your selection from those 4, please. When you're looking at sources of finance, a distinction can be made between internal, i.e. generated by the business from within the business, and external, sources of finance that are provided by organisations that are external to the business. So in this case, relatively straightforward, the answer here was A, retained profits. The profits that are earned by the business but retained in the business rather than paid out to shareholders as dividends. So internal source of finance retain profits. The rest are all external. Okay, question 6. In recent years, many emerging economies have experienced increased urbanisation. A potential benefit of this for businesses in the UK wanting to export to emerging economies might be what? Have a choose from, or make your selection from those 4 options. Let's take a look at the answer here. Well, the answer is D. Growing demand for middle-class consumers living in urban areas. Urbanisation is on the AQA A Level Business spec. Not particularly well known that, but it is on there. And one of the potential ways in which that could be examined is in relation to how emerging economies like China and others are growing and their implications for business. And as more people move from rural areas to urban areas, that's associated with high living standards. Therefore, there's growing demand from a growing middle class of consumers in those urban areas. So that's the most likely benefit for that kind of business. Okay, question 7. Options A to D below, which we'll see in a minute, a few seconds, show 4 different combinations of market research. Which combination will best describe where a business undertakes an online survey to obtain customer opinions about an advertising campaign for a new product? So here are your options A to D. So pause the video and work out which you think the right answer is. So options A to D, different combinations of primary, secondary, quantitative, qualitative research. The answer here is B. Why is it B? Well, primary research, don't forget, primary research is research that is undertaken for a specific purpose. And yeah, that's very much the question there. The clue in the question there, the business undertakes an online survey to obtain opinions. So market research undertaken for a specific purpose is primary research, whereas of course secondary research existed for a different purpose. And lastly, or secondly, is it qualitative or quantitative? Well, qualitative is about opinions, and therefore customer opinions is the word that gives you the clue away. Answer B. Okay, almost halfway. Question 8. A business has a break-even output of 20,000 units and annual fixed costs of £500,000. What is the selling price per unit if its variable cost per unit is £10? 4 options to choose from. So again, calculators out this time maybe, and have a go at this one. The break-even formula can be examined in lots of different ways. It's just a question of working out which bits you've been given and therefore which bits are left to calculate. In this case, hopefully you worked out that the answer was D, £35 per unit. Let's have a look why. Well, don't forget the break-even output formula. Break-even output is fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. Let's slot into that formula the numbers were given. We're actually told the output, 20,000 units, is break-even. We're told fixed costs, £500,000. So what we're looking for is the selling price that makes the contribution per unit £25, because that must be the contribution per unit if we break even at 20,000 units with fixed costs of £500,000. Well, if the contribution per unit is £25 and we're told variable cost per unit is £10, selling price per unit must therefore be £35. So the answer, 35, answer D. Okay, question 9, and it's one of these 2-statement question formats that appeared in the paper one, first paper one in June 2017. So let's have a look at this one. Statement 1. According to Cotter and Schlesinger, one way to overcome resistance to change is through decentralisation and delegation. And statement 2. According to Cotter and Schlesinger, one reason why change is resisted is because of low tolerance and inertia. So looking at those 2 statements, which of those are true and which are false? Let's have a look. Of course, they could both be true, they could both be false. In this case, the answer is C. Statement 1 is false and statement 2 is true. Cotter and Schlesinger identified 6 ways of overcoming resistance to change, but decentralisation and delegation weren't one of those. So that's false. However, statement 2 is true. Yeah, that was one of the 4 ways that good old Cotter and Schlesinger identified 4 reasons why people resist change because of a low tolerance for change and inertia. So that's true. Okay, question 10. Which of the following changes in the economic environment would be most likely to reduce the profits of a business based in the UK which imports its products before selling them to customers in the UK? So, work out your answer from those options there. Let's take a look. Well, hopefully you chose answer B, a fall in the value of the pound exchange rate. A weaker pound results in more expensive imports, but our exports are cheaper. So in this case, that would reduce the profits of this business, wouldn't it? Because it's importing its products, therefore the cost of the products it imports will be going up, they'll be more expensive. And of course it's selling them on to consumers in the UK, therefore it doesn't benefit from the exchange rate there. It will just have more expensive products that it tries to sell. And therefore that's most likely to reduce the profits. Unless, of course, it could pass on all those extra costs to consumers. But as it stands, it's most likely to reduce the profits of the business. Okay, 5 to go. Question 11 now. Which of the following would be an example of organic growth by a business? So 4 options to choose from. Pause the video, make your choice. Organic growth is growth from within the business rather than external to the business. So therefore the answer is C, opening a factory in an international market. The other 3 options there, A, B and D, are all examples of external growth rather than organic, or sometimes otherwise known as internal growth. So a joint venture with a business in an international market, that's external growth, joint ventures, as is a merger, in this case with a key supplier, so vertical integration, backwards vertical integration, but that's external growth because it's a merger. And D, taking over a competitor in the same market, horizontal integration, but again it's external because we're acquiring or taking over another business. So the one that's left, opening a new factory in an international market, is a good example of organic growth. Answer C. Question 12. Here we're given a table of index numbers. The table below, or on the screen there, shows data relating to the size of a market. If market sales in 2016 were 2.5 million, what was the size of the market in 2017? So, calculators to the ready, have a go at that one. With index numbers, they help us identify the percentage changes. Various different ways of doing it. Hopefully you worked out the correct answer was B, 2.61 million. Well, let's just go back. I've not put a work on that one. Well, the best way to do it is to simply divide the index for 2017 by the index for 2016, 115 divided by 10 and times that by the size of the market in 2016, 2.5 million. You could also work out the size of the market in 2016 and 17 by reference to 2015. So 2016 would have been 10% higher, 2017 would have been 15% higher than 2015. But my first description there was the quickest way. So 2.61. Okay, question 13. Options A to D below show 4 different combinations of human resource performance. Which combination is most likely to represent a business with a strong performance in human resource management? So make your selection from those 4 options there. These types of questions, options A to D, are going to be quite popular in the exam because they enable the examiner to test 2 different pieces of knowledge. In this case, we're being tested on labour turnover and absenteeism, and therefore hopefully you came up with the right answer of A. That's the most likely combination for a business that's doing well, that's performing strongly in terms of how it manages its human resources. Low labour turnover in the sense that that means there is a low percentage of people who leave the business. High labour turnover is associated with a business that has difficulties with HR management. And similarly, absenteeism, the percentage or proportion of people who are absent from work when they should be in work. Again, low absenteeism is associated with good HR performance, whereas high absenteeism is clearly a big issue for a business and is weak performance. So that combination of low labour turnover and low absenteeism is the right answer for a business that's performing well. Answer A. 2 more questions to go, almost there. Question 14 now. At which stage of the product life cycle is a strategy of price skimming most likely to be used? For options there, again, pause the video, make your choice. Well, the product life cycle, a key model, and hopefully you worked out that the answer is C, the introduction phase. Price skimming is a strategy where a business sets an initially high price to try to attract the early adopters of the product, to try to skim off the profits by setting a particularly high price, knowing that eventually they'll have to lower the price as the product becomes more mainstream, as it becomes more popular. But price skimming is often used right at the start, particularly for products that have that wow factor, where you want to be the first to buy them. Okay, last question, 15. Netflix is a multinational business with over 100 million subscribers to its media services worldwide. In 2017, it announced plans to increase the amount it spends on media from $6 billion to $8 billion per year in order to increase its global market share. According to Ansof's matrix, this is an example of what? So one of these classic Ansof questions now, which one of those 4 options is that example there for Netflix? Put this in because last year the Ansof question in 2017 was answered incorrectly by 67% of students. So we need to make sure that we get the next Ansof question right whenever it comes. In this case, the answer hopefully you picked out was answer B, market penetration. And the key with these questions is there's always going to be a clue in the words of the question. So we were talking here about Netflix increasing the amount it spends on media. It's an existing media business, therefore it's an existing product, and it wants to increase its market share. So that sounds to me like selling more to existing markets. Existing products, existing markets, market penetration. That's a classic strategy for increasing global market share. Nothing in the question was a clue around new products, new markets, or diversification. So market penetration is the answer. There we go, that's it. That's the end of that paper 1 mock with 15 questions. Hopefully you did pretty well. Don't forget to have a go at the other MCQ revision quizzes that we've got on YouTube and our revision channel. Cheers.